On this week's episode, I'm joined by Gabriela Romagna, an urban sketch artist, a paper engineer originally from Austria who cycled to and through Portugal. We discuss, amongst other things, the journey to and through Portugal on a bike, what it means to be a paper engineer, and how she's inspired by Portugal's old buildings and history and culture. Welcome back, or welcome to another episode of Portugal, The Simple Life. And I'm really excited to be joined here by Gabriela Romagna. Gabriela, hello, and thank you for joining us.
Hi, hello. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. Did I say the name correct?
Yeah, you've done a really good job, I must say.
It's good. It's not easy. We get some weird names on this show, you know. So we have to. I think you might. No, you're not. You're originally from Austria. Mm-hmm. We have had a fellow Austrian on the podcast before, a guy called Hans Neuner, who's a Michelin chef. So I was going to say you're the first Austrian, but he would get really upset if I said that, and he listens a lot, so I need to be careful. But maybe you can start off by telling us a little bit about you.
Yes, sure. So, as you already said, I'm from Austria. Have spent the last 13 years actually not even living in Austria. I've been all over the place. Most of the time I spent in England for 10 years actually. And after I left, I've been traveling, and somehow I ended up now being in Portugal, and I really enjoy it.
Wonderful. So how did that happen? How did you get to Portugal? How did you end up here?
Well, so, as everybody knows, the corona pandemic happened. And so I lost my job on the cruise ship. I was being a cycle guide on a cruise ship, and it was really amazing. I had such a good time. And because of that, I was sent back to Austria. I was actually though meant to be in Portugal because I had to sort out some personal things. And then when I was in Austria, I thought, oh, this is really inconvenient now. You know, how do I get to Portugal? Because there were no flights at this time already. So I decided to cycle to Portugal.
Okay. So there's a few things that we have to unpack there. So one, you were working on a cruise ship. You were the cycle tour guide. So yeah. Everyone that didn't want to sit on the ship by the pool overlooking the ocean and wanted to go bike ride, they'd go with you.
Exactly.
Through the different cities that you stopped at.
Yes. Whatever port we would dock on, we would have a bike tour there, and we could just enjoy it and get to know the country and lead the guests around. It was great. Amazing.
Okay, that sounds like fun. And then you went back because with Corona, no cruise ships were not really allowed, and you decided, okay, I can't fly to Portugal, I can't take a train, I can't drive, I'll just cycle from Austria to Portugal.
That seemed a good option.
You really wanted to get to Portugal?
Yes.
Okay.
I did.
How long did that take you?
Well, it took me 4 months, but I must say I did obviously not rush it. I was enjoying the ride just as much as, ending up in Portugal in the end. So yeah, I was not cycling straight. I was cycling up and down and everywhere, and wherever I got recommendations, I was like, why not? let's look at it.
Amazing. Okay. Why did you decide to come here? What was it about those sort of visits to Portugal that made you want to spend more time here?
Well, I first came there with my partner a few years back, and we really enjoyed Portugal together. We discovered a lot of the north of Portugal, and I'm really a big fan, I must say. Even though I'm living in the south now, I really enjoy the north a lot. And I feel like it's an undiscovered gem. I know there's a lot of tourism in the big cities, but still, apart from that, I think it's quite undiscovered in Europe, and people kind of forget about that Portugal is even there. So, yeah, I really love it. It's so much to discover, and the people are super lovely. The landscapes are amazing. The culture, I really just enjoy everything.
Amazing. So when was your first visit? Was that with your partner a few years back? Was that your first time coming here?
Yes, that was 2018 when I went to Portugal for the very first time. Yeah.
Okay. And what were you expecting? What did you? Because everyone comes with an idea, and with Portugal it's quite interesting because sometimes people don't really know what to expect, or they think they know what to expect, but it's not really what happens. And so, what do you remember about that trip, what you expected, and possibly what surprised you about this country?
Well, I must say, I don't think I really had many expectations. Obviously we've been traveling through Spain before that, and it was a bit of a struggle because we had this language barrier. And I just remembered so consciously when we went into Portugal, we were like, oh no, people speak English so much more, we can now communicate. So it's really good. And this was the first thing that was really noticeable in comparison to Spain, for example, that people could speak English, even though they were of an older generation sometimes. And then everything was, I don't know, there were not really any expectations, because to be honest, I haven't really spent much thought about Portugal before I even went here. So, because, I don't know, it just never really came up. And we were just meant to travel through. And then in the end, we didn't, we just stayed. So, yeah.
How long did you stay for that at that time?
At that time, I stayed probably only for about 5 months or so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we came in
But that wasn't the plan. The plan was to just pass through.
Yeah, the plan was actually to pass through and to go to Morocco maybe, or wherever the wind really blows us, So we had like an open end. We decided to travel for a while, so there wasn't really a rush. And then we just thought, oh, it's so nice here,
Yeah, it's something that you hear a lot. Is we stayed longer than what we thought we were going to stay in Portugal, and also the language thing does surprise people, because you don't expect that. You don't expect that for sort of an old country and a country that's, besides some of the cities, is quite rural and quite rugged and quite rustic.
Yeah.
For people to speak so much English, it is something that's pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
And I mean, were there things along that trip, or was it later on where you started to think, actually, I could see myself living here a little bit longer or more permanently? Were there things that happened along the way that made you think about spending more time here?
That was actually by pure chance, to be honest, because then I left Portugal for a few years, on and off. I came here only to have a holiday and stuff, and I didn't actually plan on moving here. This was all happening after the cycle trip, where then, I arrived in late October, and I thought, okay, I'm not going to cycle back now because it's winter.
I'm tired because I'm tired.
Yeah, that also, it's nice to stay in a place for a bit longer for once, And so I decided that if I'm already in Portugal, I might as well find a job. And this is kind of like how it accidentally happened that I'm still here, because I got a job and I really enjoyed myself. So I thought there's no reason to go back, so I can just stay.
Amazing. Okay, let's talk about the cycling. How much of the country did you see by bike?
Okay, so I came with my friend, actually. We've been riding together for the last 3 months, but we came from Tui to Valença. So this is where we crossed into Portugal, just up in the north, in the center, kind of. And then we went down Rubiais and Ponte de Lima, then across to the west to Viana do Castelo, and we stayed there for I don't know, a few weeks. And and then I did cycle in the previous years, part of Portugal as well, where I cycled to Braga and Coimbra, and I also did cycle the south from Faro to Lagos and this area a little bit as well. So I've seen quite a lot with the bike as well, even.
Is it a different? Do you get a different perspective of the country seeing it that way?
Yes.
What did you learn about Portugal by seeing it on bike, would you say?
The dogs are really annoying. They're out of control, but I think this is the only thing I didn't like. Other than that, I think people are super helpful. Sometimes you're just traveling through and you're stopping because you're making a break or you're just orientating yourself, and people are always curious. They come up to you and they ask you like, oh, where do you want to go? Where are you coming from? Why are you doing this? So people have been great, and I feel like when you're traveling by bicycle, you're really in your environment. You're not apart from it. Like with a car, there's this barrier, you're between the glass and stuff. But when you're cycling, you're not. Everything you smell and you hear and you feel it, and you're really into it. So I feel like it's much more authentic actually to travel that way, because you realize everything around you, because you have to, also for safety. Yeah.
Yeah. So you feel more present to and you take it in more a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So you mentioned that you enjoyed more the north. I'm not going to ask you to speak badly about any kind of particular location. Okay, no, you wouldn't anyway. You're too nice to do that. But you said that you cycled through the north, a bit of the center as well, and then you said Algarve, Lagos to Faro. Mm-hmm. That's a large portion of coastline, Faro to Lagos, and the people don't realize how big that is. for someone that doesn't know Portugal, how would you describe those three places, and what makes them different from each other?
So I feel like, if you really want to just relax and you want to chill out, you're definitely going down in the south. You're lying on the beach and you have the cliffs there, which are beautiful to see, maybe by boat even or whatever, and you just like bake in the sunshine. And if you maybe want to have like a bit more diversity, everything I think from the center of Portugal up to the north is great because you have everything. You have the mountains, you have the ocean, you have the rivers, the valleys, like the coastline. It's just everything, whatever you fancy, you can do it,
Yeah, so central up a little bit more diverse and a little bit more mixed in a smaller space, whereas Algarve is kind of the Algarve. We know what we're getting down there.
Yeah,
beach and sunshine.
Exactly. Yeah, there's not so mountainous, and that's fine. I think it's great to have this contrast because for Portugal, it's fantastic. Even Portuguese people, you can make holiday in your own country, and you got whatever you want, you have it. Even a little bit of snow. Sometimes. So.
A little bit of snow. Yeah, we do. Yeah. We do. Okay. Talking about the snow, obviously that's something that we don't get a lot of that here. Maybe something that you miss about your home country, but you also mentioned that you spend more time out of your home country and all over. What do you think, for someone that's traveled so much and been to so many different places also with your work with the cruise ships, what do you think makes Portugal a little bit unique or sets it apart from a lot of the places that you've been? What do you think made it different for you?
I feel like well, it's definitely very handy because you are still in Europe. I think that has some benefits, as we all know. But at the same time, you have the Mediterranean, the southern climate, the warmth, the heat. And because personally, I don't really miss the snow. I'm quite a person of I love the sunshine and the heat much more. So, and I feel like you have both. You have a European kind of structure, in a way, even though it's not so maybe strict, and I really enjoy that as well, that it's a little bit more relaxed and atmosphere, but you have all the commodities and you have all the benefits of the weather and the climate and
Yeah, so you've got that sort of Europeanness about it, but it's a little bit less rigid.
Yes.
Amazing. Okay. All right. And then the other thing, one of the reasons that we got in touch was I somehow came across your work as a paper engineer. Now that's such a cool job title. I'm like, wow. Like we've had another person who had a similarly cool job title on her CV that's been on the podcast was a light architect. Like that's also super cool. But a paper engineer, that's also really awesome. So what is a paper engineer? And tell us about what you do. I see you've got some examples behind you, but tell us a little bit about that part of your life.
Yes, so I must say this is definitely a true passion of mine and it always will be. I found out about it at uni, and basically what a paper engineer is they creating pop-ups made out of paper. I think most of the people will know it. You have a book, it's called a pop-up book, and when you open the page, like this paper comes out, like this dimension, this castle or the car or whatever it is comes out. And this is what I'm doing. I create this mechanics of the paper. So when you open it, it comes out and it surprises you, but you can fold it flat just like a book, and it's amazing. So I'm doing this and I really enjoy it. You can do it for every purpose. It's of course a lot used for children's books because this is where it's amazing for kids, to see something that they just read about it, then it's visualized and stuff. So it's really great. And but I have also done other projects where it was, not only about kids, but and also cards and stuff. And I just try to make paper pop so people have this wow effect.
Yeah, we'll chat about how people can follow you because they've got to check out your work. It's amazing. Some of the pieces that you've done. Did you expect Portugal to? Did you expect to do? Be inspired by Portugal earlier on with this kind of thing, or is it something that maybe surprised you with the work that you've done with the paper pop-ups?
Yeah, I think it definitely surprised me because I must say, since I've been traveling a little bit the last few years. I couldn't really do it so much, so it was quite on the back burner. And then when I came here and I settled down a little bit in Lisbon, I was like so inspired by the city and everything that I saw, the architecture, the vibes. So I was like, I really would like to like make an urban pop-up, that would be so cool. So it was definitely unexpected that because I just fell in love with it, and I didn't even expect that, I heard so much good thing about it, but then, you have to make your own experiences, your own expressions of the places and stuff. So I thought, wow, I did not expect it. I found it beautiful and overwhelming and rich of like inspiration and culture. So yeah,
amazing. I mean, Lisbon is stunning. There's these little surprises behind every corner, and beautiful buildings. There's that combination, like you mentioned, with Europe, but the sort of modern European city, but then there's that historic side to it. I saw you did one with the elevator, the sunshine, things like that. What are some of your favorite sort of works that you've done inspired by Lisbon?
I must say, I think it's one of my sketchbooks. I think pretty much everything in the sketchbook is about Lisbon, and then a few places within Portugal that I traveled and also drew. But this is such a Lisbon sketchbook, and I think this is so far my favorite because it has a bit of a rough edge to it as well, because it's a sketchbook, even though I am quite like a perfectionist, but I try to loosen up in my sketches and stuff. So yeah, I think that is one of the things that I'm most happy about that came out of my first year here in Lisbon. Yeah, for sure.
Hold on, I'm just going to pause quickly, Gabrielle, because I've got someone knocking on the door. Just give me one second. Sorry about this. Okay, cool. Okay, all right. Where to next? I mean, where can you imagine doing a sketchbook, or what have you got? Because Portugal's got so much history. There's so many things. I think you should do something at Óbidos Castle. It's right near my house. And it's it could be an amazing pop-up, but that's just me being selfish, but where do you see yourself doing more of these kind of, or being, what else do you think you could do some models on, or some sketches of in and around Portugal?
I think Óbidos is definitely on top of my list because I definitely have a soft spot for it. I've been there twice by now, and I'm planning on coming back. Even though it's small and you can run around in one day, you've seen it, but I feel it's magical, the little town, the history. So yeah, I could imagine doing, Óbidos. And I even done a few sketches there as well. They are in my Portugal sketchbook. But yeah, I think as far as it goes, I really would like to do more of Porto, because I did not sketch Porto so far. I've been there a few times, but it was with friends, and I didn't really want to hold everybody up for hours, sketching somewhere in the corner. So I think I have to go on alone maybe at some point and just like take a time and really draw everything I wanted to draw. And then I really love smaller towns as well. I mean, I've been to Coimbra now, and I really enjoy it. I've seen Tomar, which is like beautiful.
Tomar is stunning.
Yeah, exactly. So I think all the small towns as well, because obviously big places people know already, but I like to also focus more about the smaller places that people don't know so well, and maybe just show them what they're missing,
Yeah, well, you mentioned it before, that it's this place that people don't know. And it's still, everyone knows kind of Lisbon, Porto, but there's still so much more to the country that people don't know about. Where haven't you been that you'd like to visit?
I really like to go to Castelo Branco, which is like close to the border to Spain, like central, close to the border. I've heard like good things about it. It should be really nice. And I must say, all along the Portuguese border, there are these beautiful little forts, and if you have an aerial view, they have this star shape. And I kind of like to see a few of them as well, out of interest. I want to check out the Estrela Mountains just because I have not been, and I've been to Xerez, and I really want to go and see Estrela as well. And then I've bookmarked a few places on my Google Maps whose names I've forgotten, but it's pretty much all central. I really like to go like inland, basically from the top to the bottom. There's like a few really beautiful places, or the photos look beautiful, so I want to check them out, like all the small rural little towns, because I think by now I've seen pretty much all the bigger places, so now it's time to go deeper.
Definitely for your pop-ups. Have you got one that you could show us?
Yeah.
Just so that we know what we're talking about here. That'll be cool. I see the elevator there as well at the back. That's cool.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Okay, so I done this actually when I moved to Lisbon last year in January. I done this in January already. So I just arrived and I was like, oh wow, it's so beautiful. So okay, let me see if you can see it.
Okay, Lisboa.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Wow.
So this is the
That's the Monsanto.
panoramico.
Yeah, up at Monsanto Park.
Exactly.
Oh wow, that's the plus the Republica.
Yeah, yeah.
Beautiful.
And there's the aqueduct.
Brilliant. Very wow. It's got so much depth.
Yes, this one is like so simple, but you know, the illustration really makes it, I find, with this one. It doesn't always have to be very complicated, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Oh wow.
And there's just a lot of small
That's
ones.
awesome. How long would that take you to do?
I must say I'm quite proud, if I may say so myself, because this one was how many, like 5 pages or so, and I've done it in about a week. I was really like power working, you know, every minute I had. So, but if you do it professionally, like I mean commercially, or like for something that you don't print and cut yourself, it's much more effort. So you have to take much longer.
Yeah, you've got a couple of places in that Castelo Branco area. Castelo Branco is interesting. It's more of like a town, but you've got a couple of sort of castle, fortress towns nearby called Monsanto is the one. It's phenomenal. Still one of the most amazing places I've been, and that would be, you could spend hours because it's got so many different layers to the town itself. They've got the sort of the town part, then there's the more historic part, then there's the part where they had the pigs, and then there's like on top with these massive boulders. It's phenomenal. And then there's another one nearby called Sotelia as well, which is more abandoned, but that makes it interesting as well. And all these old stone houses. So yeah, you could go crazy in a place like that. It's just it's beautiful for cycling as well. Actually, it's besides the mountains where these forts were built, it's pretty flat around, so you can get around quite easily.
Okay. Yeah,
it's very cool. It's hot, so be careful when you go, because it can get really hot there. No, but like really hot, like 42 degrees hot in the summer.
Okay, this is indeed very hot.
yes, or very cold depending on when you're there. So you've got to go spring or autumn, you know.
Okay, that's a good
tip.
So
it's a good place. I mean, you've been here for a while, living in Lisbon, but you've mentioned already the north. So maybe you already told us the answer. But where could you see yourself maybe living, or calling your terra, calling your hometown, and why?
Wow, yeah, I was wondering actually myself the last year. This question popped into my mind several times. You know, where do you see yourself? Where do you want to be? So, for now, I'm really happy in Lisbon. I must say. I know I might not want to be like in the city, like in the long run, you know, because I do prefer the countryside when it's a little bit quieter and the green and like the birds and stuff. But for now it's good. And I think I can't really say, because, you know, last year, beginning of the year, I thought, maybe I'm going back to Austria. I don't know, should I not? But then I was like, no, I should not, I stay here. And so now I'm thinking myself, okay, maybe not in Lisbon, but the surrounding areas, because even if you're going a little bit outside, you know, towards Cascais, anything like in this direction, it's like small, it's quiet, but you still have the very good connection to the city with the train and everything. So I suppose maybe in a few years, if I'm still here, I could imagine moving out there, you know.
A little bit further out of the city.
Yeah, exactly. Just not to be so much in the city center again, because I love it now, but it's a big city and I don't see myself there in the long run.
Yeah. So this is going to be a bit of a long winding question, but it's based on some things that you've already said. I mean, you must be quite a patient person to sit and sketch and to and to cycle. That takes some patience to cycle from Austria to here, and to sketch and to do these pop-ups. That takes a fair degree of patience. But you mentioned one of the things that you're a bit of a perfectionist, and how drawing Lisbon kind of made you relax a little bit in terms of it didn't have to be perfect, because Lisbon's not really perfect. And Lisbon is this beautiful city, but a bit rough around the edges. In the time that you've been living here, how has Portugal changed you as a person? Your pace of life, the way that you think, the way that you do things. How do you think Portugal has changed you?
Yeah, I think this has quite a big impact actually, I mean, because I've brought up in Austria, it's of course everybody is very punctual, if it's not very good to be late. I think it applies to like some areas in most countries, but the southern countries are just known, so it's not so strict, and I realized this very quickly with my friends and my new friends and stuff. And I turned up there and I tried to be really punctual, and I'm normally always late. It's not meant in a bad way. I'm just like can't manage it, it's really horrible. So at least 5 minutes, 10 minutes when I'm good, And I was like, oh God, I'm late, and then I'm waiting there and thinking, oh, nobody's here. All right. And then maybe half an hour later, people coming, and like, oh yeah, I still had to do something. I was like, okay. So I adapted my pace as well. So now I'm always even more late than I used to be before. And I'm definitely more relaxed as well. So because, sometimes when you're in a shop or you're trying to get something and there's a queue, and then the cashier starts talking with the customer, oh yeah, and how are the kids, and whatever, big conversations. I mean, there's 10 people in a row, but you just got to be patient. You just have to like think about what you want to do afterwards. I don't know, don't stress it, make a list for tomorrow. I don't know, because people are just so laid back and they just take the time to like chat with their friends, and it's quite nice in a way as well. I know sometimes it can be infuriating, especially for like Central Europeans, But I do find that quite nice. So it relaxed me much more. I don't think I was ever like a stressy Bessie or whatever, But so that is even now like, okay, now everybody else is around is relaxed as well, so I can relax even more, And
there's always time for a conversation.
Always time,
even in the city, like just to have a chat. And it's something that I still have to get used to sometimes. That there's always time for a chat. Have you picked up any of the Portuguese? How's that going?
Yes, I'm trying to learn at the moment. I have like signed up for a course, and yes, because I feel like it's necessary. It's also part of the respect that you're showing for the country. If you're living there, you should make an effort. And now I'm trying to learn Portuguese, and I think reading is already quite okay. And when I hear something, sometimes I pick up the words. But if I'm just relying on listening, I really suck. I can't understand most things, that they talk super fast and they're cutting off half the word, and I know they don't say all the letters. So, but I'm trying.
Yeah, the key is hearing it and seeing it at the same time. Otherwise, it's it's a problem. Because it can sometimes sound like Russian almost. It's just
I agree.
It can be really. It can be really hectic. My wife will tell you I still make mistakes with the language, but she says it's more because I don't listen as opposed to the language. That's different. Gabriela, you've got these kind of connections all over the world. People back home, and when they say to you, "Why are you in Portugal?" What do you tell them? What do you tell them as the reason you're still here?
I just always say, sometimes you end up in places unexpectedly, and you find like you find this feeling. You can't really pinpoint it. Maybe you have experienced it yourself. You're going to a place and you think, I don't really feel it. It's not horrible, but I also don't want to stay here. And I feel Portugal was more like, oh, okay, it's so beautiful. I didn't expect it. I feel really home here in a way. It's this feeling that you can't really point a finger to. And I had that in Portugal. And then with Lisbon, even at the beginning when I moved here, I was already making plans to leave. I was like, okay, now it's January, in the springtime, I can cycle off, And in this short time even, everything changed for me. And like, I got to know the city and the people, and I made some friends. And I was like, I can't leave because it doesn't feel right. So I'm just here because it feels right.
That's good. That's a nice feeling to have.
Yeah, for sure.
What about the food? I don't know if there's a series on Netflix. I don't know if you've seen it, called Somebody Feed Phil. And he comes to Lisbon. And one of the places that he goes when he does like this food tour of Lisbon is to like, it's I don't know if they were German or Austrian, and they're doing sausages in Lisbon. And I was like, of all the places you could go, you went to a place that was doing like these Austrian and German sausages. Yeah. What do you think of the food here? Do you enjoy the food? Do you enjoy the wine? What do you want to tell people about that part about Portuguese life?
Yes, I definitely enjoy the wine. I mean, they have great wines. No matter what you do, I tried the reds, the whites, the rosés, the verdes, the portos, and everything.
Everything.
Yeah, because you have to. I think it's a must. At least once you should. So I really enjoy it. And I mean, I don't drink a lot in general, but sometimes with a meal, a glass of wine goes really well. And yeah, they're very rich in flavors, so I enjoy it. And I also did a wine tour. Well, we drove through the wine region a little bit. It wasn't a proper tour, but I really enjoyed that. And as for the food, I mean, there's a lot of things I have never tried before, like the moelas,
Yep.
So I was like,
no, those are one of those things that you don't ask what it is, you just eat it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we're not going to tell people what moelas are. They have to just try it.
That's a good.
I was surprised. I didn't think I would like that part of the animal, but it's good. It's good. It's good.
It is really lovely. Yeah, it's true. And even though now I know what it is, it's funny because I do obviously enjoy it, but I still feel like I have to force my brain into forgetting what it is temporarily.
Yeah.
It's so strange how you bias yourself with your own knowledge sometimes. It's horrible. But no, I do enjoy the Portuguese food for sure. I tried a lot of fish as well. I'm generally, this is where my patience runs out, when I'm hungry and I have a fish and then I have all these fish bones and I can't eat. So I don't eat too much fish, but every now and then.
You need to sometimes some places you can ask them, they'll take it off the bone for you. And you just say, listen, I'm a princess, please take it off, take the bones out.
I must say I don't enjoy the process of my food getting cold because I have to deal with all the bones.
Yeah, it does take some patience sometimes, depending on the fish.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Very much so.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about, you do classes that people can join up to sketching tours and things like that. Tell us a little bit about that, Gabriela.
Yes, that's true. Actually, I do some workshops on and off. So I started last year. It came up like as a crazy idea and I thought, why not? Let's give it a go. So I started teaching pop-ups and how to build pop-ups and paper mechanics and try to, bring it to the people because it's such a big passion of mine. But at the same time, I also noticed with the pop-ups, it's a very abstract thing for most people, A lot of people don't know it. So even though I had a lot of successful workshops until this year, even, like it was really good, I now decided to change a little bit and now I do drawing workshops. So I have the first one a bit later in April, just to see how it goes, And I think maybe I can continue with this one and then just drop in an occasional pop-up, and maybe bring some to show to people so they can imagine a bit more and then build up this hopefully a little bit small fan club of pop-ups as well here in Portugal. But amazing. Yeah, I really enjoy it.
Okay, so it's a cool way to see the city as well. It's a cool way to learn a little bit about the buildings and some of the architecture and things as well.
Yes, exactly. I mean, I remember last year during the pandemic we had lockdown and I felt so isolated, like most people, of course. And I thought to myself, there's an urban sketching movement, so you're going out to places and you're just sketching what you see and you make a photo with your sketch and stuff. And I thought, I really just want to go out and sketch. And it was allowed to go out, so it was fine. So I remember just stalking a lot of people on Instagram. I noticed they're in Lisbon because they shared their drawings. And I contacted some of them and said, hey, do you want to just meet up to sketch together? Because it's a nice thing to do. You still have the social distance because everybody sits somewhere and sketches their own thing. At the same time, you're there together as well. So we had a little sketching meeting in Alcantara viewpoint in Lisbon, which was really, really great.
Yeah, that's a great lookout point as well.
And that was so beautiful because everybody appreciates the architecture and the little details. Some people draw the whole building, others just draw the entrance or the lamppost. And it's interesting to see what people focus on. So it's always nice to see the outcomes at the end. You're sharing all your drawings, everybody sees everything. So it's great.
Amazing. Okay, our time is coming up to an end. But Gabriela, one thing that you'd like people to remember and take away from our conversation?
I think you should always be brave and do something even though it seems impossible.
Nice one. I love that. And you did.
Yes, exactly. I thought I never really, thought I would cycle to Portugal and here I am. So
amazing. How can people follow you online? How can they get in touch? Maybe join you on a sketching or a pop-up workshop? How can we reach out?
Well, you can reach me on Instagram. I've got an account. It's called a.r.t.story. And yeah, I just post my drawings there, and you can message me, and then you find the link to my website or whatever. So yeah.
Perfect. Okay, I'll put links in the show notes, so that people can follow and get in touch, because it's awesome, and it's a great way to see the city, great way to get in touch with people and to interact as well. Gabriella, a question that we ask all of our guests: Portugal, the simple life. Why?
Because I just really can identify with the laid-backness, the culture, the sunshine. It's a perfect work-life balance.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. I've loved this conversation.
Thank you so much for having me. It was really great. It was good fun.
You're very welcome. And for now, I'm going to let you call it.
It's a wrap. Thank you very much.
So thank you once again to Gabriella, and thank you to all of you for listening. Please subscribe, share with your friends, give us a thumbs up, and please leave a comment or a review. We'd love to hear from you. And we'll be back next week with a brand new episode. As we say in Portugal, até próxima. Welcome to the simple life.